Subscribe my channel and press bell icon to get all notification.
Hello students, now we will discuss about the next phase of prophase 1, that is pectine. Up to now we have discussed the zygote. In the zygote, if we recall the zygote में हमने क्या देखा था? In the zygote we have seen that two homologous chromosomes, they come closer and they make a complex by the synaptonical complex. They remain attached with each other. एक बार फिर से देख लेते हैं हमने zygote में क्या क्या देखा था. And for the convenience we have shown the both of these two homologous chromosomes with the particular colors so that we can easily understand. यहाँ पे particular हमें color से show किया है ताकि हम बहुत आसानी से आइडेंटिफाई कर पाए इन होमोलोगस क्रोमोसोम्स को. इन द zygote we have seen zygote तक क्या हो चुका था. zygote तक both of these two chromosomes, like this one chromosomes, this is the one chromosome and then this another chromosome. Both of these chromosomes they go vertical splitting. एक chromosomes में chromatids के अंदर vertical splitting होगी and by these vertical splitting these chromosomes become the means we can show the two arms, two different arms we can easily show, and this condition is now known as tetrad. So tetrad will form here. Like if we draw the structure, this is the one chromosome and here if we draw the another one, this is the another chromosome in which also the chromatids went through the vertical splitting. So such kind of conditions we have shown into the zygote stage, and this is now known as a tetrad. This type of condition is visible and it's known as tetrad. In this tetrad we can see the two arms of each chromosome. These are the homologous chromosomes which are remain together by the synaptonemal complex. The synaptonemal complex it formed in between these two homologous chromosomes by which they remain together. And therefore we can see now the four arms like we discussed in the previous. If we these are the two homologous chromosomes and the vertical splitting happens between these two chromosomes. Two arms will be shown into the one chromosome. एक chromosome में two arms दिखेगी and in another chromosome also we are able to see the two arms. So finally we will see the four arms. Here we have shown these four arms. So finally we have see the four arms. Four arms ऊपर की तरफ, four arms नीचे की तरफ. So this condition is known as tetrad. So tetrad will form, and in this tetrad, these two chromatids of one chromosome they are known as sister chromatid. इन्हें हमने क्या नाम दिया था? They are sister chromatid. Sister chromatid. The chromatids of one chromosomes are known as sister chromatids. So both of these two are sister chromatids. Both of these two are also sister chromatids. Similarly, these two are sister chromatids and these two are also sister chromatids. But when we talk about this chromatid and then this chromatid, these two chromatids are known as non-sister chromatid. इन्हें हम बोलेंगे non-sister chromatids. And the crossing over takes place between non-sister chromatids. So this is a very important point. You have to keep remember that crossing over take place between non-sister chromatid. Crossing over जो होता है that is the important process and it takes place between non-sister chromatid. तो up to now we in the zygote में हम यहाँ तक देख चुके थे. Now let's start with the next stage, that is the pectine stage. So what happens in the pectine? Let's see. These two homologous chromosomes they come closer to each other. In between they have the synaptonemal complex. They are joined with the synaptonemal complex and they remain together. And in this pectine stage, that what happens? These homologous chromosomes they come closer and they join each other to exchange their genetic material. Means crossing over is happening here, and for crossing over, the chromatids have to join each other. In some books, you will find that this process, this crossing over, ये जो crossing over हो रहा है, crossing over के लिए जो structure form हो रही है, that will form into the zygote. But actual the crossing over, जो actual crossing over की process है, that process will starts or it happens into the Pectine stage. The Pectine में ही जाके होगी जहाँ पे क्या हो रहा है, both of these two chromatids get joined with each other. Like this chromatid will making a connection with this one, and this chromatid is making connection with this one. And this type of structure, we can see a X kind type of structure. They are joining with each other, like these are the four arms, and they are making connection like this. So this kind of connection, हमें इस तरीके का connection यहाँ पे नजर आ रहा है. And by this, now what happens? They do the crossing over, and the crossing over is the process in which the genetic material get exchanged. The part of the one chromosome, it's cut from the chromatids and then it joined with the another chromosome. तो यहाँ पे अब इनका genetic material exchange होगा. They will do the crossing over, and this crossing over is an enzyme mediated process. We talk about here, the enzyme which is required for this process is recombinase. Recombinase. So we can say that it's an enzyme mediated process. This crossing over happens due to the process or due to the presence of enzyme recombinase, and the recombination nodules will form here. Recombination nodule will seen, or they will form, and after that what happens? When they come closer, like they will make such kind of structure, then the part of the one chromosome break and it gets joined with the another chromosome. यहाँ से cut होगा and it will join with another one. And this process, this cutting and joining, this is known as nicking. यहाँ पे nick form होंगे, that parts of the small parts of the chromatids get baked and they get joined with the another chromatid of chromosome by the ligase enzyme. So we can see that the nicking, यहाँ पे nicking होगा, and the enzyme which is used for the joining of these part of the chromatid, its enzyme is ligase. So ligase enzyme यहाँ पे फिर से join करने का काम करेगा. And finally, after that we will see that how they will exchange their genetic material. Now how we can draw this, let's see. अब हम इसे कैसे draw करेंगे? After a short time, when they exchange the genetic material, जब genetic material exchange हो जाएगा, then we can see this part will come here with this chromosome, and here we will see that with this chromosome. Gets joined with another one. So such kind of structure we will see that how they get exchanged. Now this chromosome, this blue one chromosome has the end of this chromatid get cutted and it joined with the another red color chromosomes, and the red chromosomes का जो corner का part है, tip part है, it get cutted and it joined with the blue chromosome. In this way they will exchange their genetic material, and this process of exchanging of genetic material is known as crossing over. So we are saying here that crossing over will take place, and after the crossing over, the crossed over chromosome will form. Crossed over chromosome जो है यहाँ पे form हो जाएंगे. So these are the some changes which happens during this Pectine stage, and rest all nothing is changed. Nuclear membrane is as it is, nucleolus is as it is, no other changes take place. Only the process which is happening here, यहाँ पे सिर्फ एक important काम हो रहा है, and that is the crossing over, and the enzyme which is required for this crossing over is recombinase enzyme. इसी तरीके का same crossing over यहाँ पे भी होगा. These homologous chromosomes will also do the crossing over, and here एक चीज इंपॉर्टेंट जो आपको ध्यान रखने वाली है, ऐसे जरूरी नहीं है कि यहाँ पे क्रॉसिंग ओवर सिर्फ एक ही पॉइंट पे हो. क्रॉसिंग ओवर यहाँ भी हो सकता है. These chromatids also can closer with each other. They can also make the recombination nodules. यहाँ पे भी क्रॉसिंग ओवर हो सकता है. Mainly the crossing over take place only one or two sides. So they are doing crossing over. And now what is the reason for the crossing over? Crossing over is happening because they have to exchange their genetic material. So the variation can be produced. Variations create करनी है. This is the meiosis, and after the meiosis has a significant role that it create variation where the gametes of the two individuals fuse together. So it happens to create the variation. So these are the changes which happens during the Pectine stage. After Pectine, the next stage is the diplotin. So now we will discuss about the next stage, which is diplotin. Now let's see what happens into the diplotin stage. So this is the diplotin stage. in the diplotin, now the synaptonemal complex which is formed here in between these homologous chromosomes, now it's no more required. क्रॉसिंग ओवर करना था, दोनों को आपस दो क्रोमोसोम्स को आपस में ज्वाइन होना था, पास आना था, इसके लिए सिनेप्टोनीमल कॉम्प्लेक्स बना था. आफ्टर क्रॉसिंग ओवर सिनेप्टोनीमल कॉम्प्लेक्स की अब कोई रिक्वायरमेंट नहीं है. सो दिस सिनेप्टोनीमल कॉम्प्लेक्स स्टार्ट ब्रेकिंग. Centronuclear complex break होना start हो जाएगा and these homologous chromosomes also get separated from each other. ये एक दूसरे के साथ separate होना start हो जाएंगे and here we can write the changes. The synaptonemal complex breaks. Synaptonemal complex get break. And these homologous chromosomes just remain attached at one point and this point is make X-shaped structure. तो पूरी तरीके से two chromosomes, homologous chromosomes एक दूसरे के पास आए, they make the connection like this kind of X kind structure is made. After that they start separating. सेपरेशन स्टार्ट हो गया बट दैट सेपरेशन डू नॉट हैपन सडन. एकदम से सेपरेट नहीं होते, ऐसे नहीं कि ऐसे सेपरेट हो जाएंगे. दे स्टार्ट सेपरेटिंग इनटू द जिपर मैनर. एक जिप लाइक जैसे जिप को हम खोलते हैं ना, उस तरीके से ये सेपरेट होना स्टार्ट होते हैं. एंड फॉर दिस दे जस्ट रिमेन आफ्टर ब्रेकिंग ऑफ synaptonemal complex, they remain connected at only one point and this X-shaped structure is formed. This X-shaped structure which is making here and forming here where the homologous chromosomes are joined, this point is known as chiasmata. So we can say that chiasmata formation take place. So chiasmata यहाँ पे बना. This is the X-shaped structure which is making here and after that slowly they will do the terminalization. धीरे धीरे ये जो X-shaped structure है वो टिप की तरफ बढ़ती जाएगी. Chromosomes will start moving slowly and finally they will get separated. So we can say that chiasmata formation happens and the terminalization here the terminalization will start. Terminalization start हो जाएगा and this movement of this the chromosomes at this X-shaped structure, X-shaped point is known as disjunction. So we are saying that this separating of the homologous chromosomes is starts and we can say that disjunction will start and it happens very slowly. बहुत आराम से धीरे धीरे ये X-shaped structure जो है अपने tip की तरफ move करती है and finally when both of these chromatids reach at their tip then they move. They get separated from each other. So this terminalization happens and they get separated continuously with their recombinant or their crossed over parts. Both of these two homologous chromosomes, and these two homologous chromosomes, they have their crossed over parts with each other. अब ये जो crossed over part है, जैसे this blue one chromosome had the part of the red chromosome. Here also we can say that this red color chromosomes had the blue color part also. So they will get separate with their crossed over parts. So this happens into the diplotin stage. What happens? In the diplotin, synaptonemal complex start breaking, X-shaped structure is forming which is known as chiasmata and this chiasmata start moving towards the tip of the chromatids and this is known as terminalization and we can say that terminalization will start and slowly they will move away. धीरे धीरे ये मूव होते जाएंगे and finally they get separate. यहाँ से separate हो जाएंगे with their crossover parts. So this happens into the diplotin stage. At that time, now these chromatids has become fully condensed. जो chromosome का condensation का काम है वो भी पूरी तरीके से हो चुका है. After that, now they will move into the next phase and the next phase is the dikinases phase. Now what happens? Let's see what happens into the dikinases phase. In the dikinases, we will see that now these two chromosomes which are getting separate, they will get separate from each other. So let's see what happens into the dikinases now. Now after diplotin, this cell will enter into the next phase of the prophase 1 which is dikinases. This is dikinases. What happened into the dikinases? देखते हैं dikinases में क्या हुआ. अभी तक हमने किसी भी तरीके के ऐसे चेंज के बारे में बात नहीं की है जो कि प्रोफेज में हमने डिस्कस किया था when we discussed about the mitosis. In the mitosis, in prophase, we had discussed that nuclear membrane start disappearing, nucleolus also start disappearing, and the centrioles will start moving towards the opposite pole. इस तरीके का कोई भी changes अभी तक नहीं हुआ था. But when the cell enter into the dikinesis, it show the changes similar as the prophase of the mitosis. तो जो भी changes हमने prophase में discuss किए थे, all these changes will happen here. In the mitosis, we divided the prophase, early prophase and late prophase. But here all the changes we will see into the only one subphase. एक ही phase के अंदर हमें दोनों ही early और late prophase के changes show होंगे. Like what happens now? Now nuclear membrane is completely disappeared. Nuclear membrane disappear हो गई है. All nuclear cell organelles, membrane bound organelles like mitochondria, Golgi apparatus also start disappearing. Nucleus is also disappeared, and the centrioles will move towards the opposite pole. So in this phase we can say that the centrioles reach towards the opposite pole. So here we can write that nuclear membrane disappear हो गई है, and the centriole move up to opposite pole, and they start forming spindle fibers. When centriole move toward the opposite pole, they start forming spindle fiber. So here we can say that these are the spindle fibers. Spindle fibers are formed here, and these spindle fibers some are continuous and some are discontinuous. Discontinuous spindle fiber remain attached with the chromosome, and the continuous one be like this, which are continuous spindle fiber. So spindle fibers also form, and these homologous chromosomes, which are the crossed over chromosome, जिनके अंदर crossing over हो चुका है, and they have their exchange genetic material, these crossed over chromosomes now join with the spindle fibers. These changes happens into this phase, which is known as dikinesis. So let's see what is happening into the dikinesis. The crossover homologous chromosomes now they join at the end. Here we discuss in the diploid that chiasmata that is formed. It starts terminalization. यहाँ पे terminalization start हो गया था. And when they reach to the dikinesis, chiasmata is completely disappeared. पूरी तरीके से disappear हो चुका है. And after that, the nuclear membrane also disappears. Nucleus also gets disappeared, and the centrioles get moved towards the opposite pole, and they form the spindle fibers. And here, this is the ester. They will form the ester also. When the rays are arising, these are the ester rays, and the structure is ester. Ester and spindle fibers get formed, and the crossed over homologous chromosomes they get attached with this spindle fiber. So up to now, we have discussed that all the changes happens here in the prophase first. What are the complete changes? Like in prophase first is divided into the 5 subphases: lactotine, zygotine, pectine, diploid, and dikinesis. In the lactotine, we saw that the condensation gets start, BD structure, or we can say that the bouquet stage will form, and the condensed chromatids get attached with the nuclear membrane. Attached रहते हैं. In the zygotine, we see so that the homologous chromosomes start pairing with each other. Chromosomes की pairing start हो गई थी, and the divalent or the divalent or the bivalent or dyad formation will form there, and the homologous chromosomes join with the synaptonemal complex. Then in the pectine, crossing over happens with the help of enzyme recombinase, and then in the diploid, they start moving with their excess structure by the chiasmata. Terminalization happens, and the crossover chromosomes get separated completely at the end of the diploid or in the dikinesis. And in the dikinesis, it's like prophase like changes happens, and nuclear membrane, nucleolus start disappearing, chromosomes condense completely, and they are arranged with the spindle fiber. They get attached with the spindle fiber. So here we completed the prophase first. After that, now let's see what happens in the next phase, that is after prophase first. The next phase will be the metaphase 1, and you know that in the metaphase the chromosome has to align at the equatorial plate or the metaphase. So in the next video we will discuss about the metaphase and another phases. So keep watching, keep studying, and keep learning. Thank you.